The Bible addresses remarriage in several contexts, and its guidance can vary depending on the situation, such as whether the previous marriage ended due to death, divorce, or other reasons. Here's an overview of what Scripture says about remarriage. Remarriage after the death of a spouse. Permitted and honorable. Romans 7:2-3. By law, a married woman is bound to her husband as long as he is alive, but if her husband dies, she is released from the law that binds her to him. 1 Corinthians 7:39. A woman is bound to her husband as long as he lives, but if her husband dies, she is free to marry anyone she wishes, but he must belong to the Lord. Meaning, if a spouse dies, the surviving partner is free to remarry, ideally to someone who shares their faith. Remarriage after divorce. This is more complex and often debated. Jesus and Paul speak strongly about divorce and remarriage. A. Jesus' teaching. Matthew 19:9. I tell you that anyone who divorces his wife, except for sexual immorality, and marries another woman commits adultery. Meaning, remarriage is considered adultery unless the divorce was due to sexual immorality. B. Paul's teaching, 1 Corinthians 7:10-11, to the married I give this command. A wife must not separate from her husband, but if she does, she must remain unmarried or else be reconciled to her husband. Meaning, Paul urges couples not to divorce, but if they do, remarriage is discouraged unless reconciliation occurs. 3. Abandonment by an unbelieving spouse, 1 Corinthians 7:15. But if the unbeliever leaves, let it be so. The brother or the sister is not bound in such circumstances. God has called us to live in peace. Meaning, if an unbelieving spouse abandons the marriage, the believer is not bound. Some interpret this as permission to remarry. Summary, situation, biblical view on remarriage. After death of a spouse allowed, after divorce due to adultery allowed. After divorce for other reasons generally discouraged may be considered adultery. Abandonment by an unbeliever possibly allowed based on interpretation. If you're thinking about remarriage or advising someone, prayer, counsel from a mature believer or pastor, and honest reflection on Scripture are highly recommended.